All right, welcome to Keystone Carnivore podcast, episode number 2. Today I have special guest with me, a guy who has helped me out a lot in bodybuilding, and the guy who got me started about a year and a half ago in carnivore, helped me transition a little bit more from the ketogenic approach to the carnivore approach, Kenton Kramer. Now, we just got done a little bit earlier with a workout this morning, just trying to find any ways that we can uh, work out with this whole coronavirus going on. But Kenton, I've been training with you for about 8 years now, since we met at Shippensburg. Um, you're very involved with the carnivore approach now. So just tell us a little bit about your experience with that, how you got started, and what your current regimen is now with carnivore.
How you doing? So carnivore, man. I came across that back in probably when I was 28. I had severe hip issues that were bothering me. I mean, I didn't even squat anymore. I figured, man, I'm done. I'm past my prime. It's over, kind of thing. I'm like, man, it's pretty young. 28 already done, I guess. Uh, I love lifting weights and having that aspect of it taken away was kind of like, man, what do I do now with my free time? Um, so there was a point to where I drive a lot for work. I'd be sitting in my car and it was just excruciating pain. I mean, even laying in bed was painful. I mean, and I was like, man, something's wrong, man. There's just when I noticed that my health was starting to slip at that age, I was like, man, I started getting obsessed with how can I make this better without having to get cut on? Because the other orthopedics I was talking to, they're saying it's probably you're probably going to need a hip replacement very soon if it's that bad. And luckily, I came across Dr. Sean Baker's stuff on Instagram before the whole Rogan thing was going on, before the Joe Rogan podcast came out. And I was kind of following it along because I felt good when I ate red meat, but I was always eating other things with it, a lot of other processed junk. And out of desperation, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try carnivore and just go all meat and all water and just eat as much as red meat as I can when I'm full and then eat again when I'm hungry. So I don't what's
Yeah,
your that's long winded to answer.
yeah, no. I mean, I always like a pretty in-depth, good answer like that. And we kind of look back at guys back in the 70s, 60s,
Yes.
50s, back even back into the 40s, like bodybuilder Vince Gironda,
Yes.
who really talked about this steak and eggs.
Mhm.
This thing has been around for years,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of people can get mixed up of maybe what people got caught up in the 80s, with bodybuilding, a more high carb approach, maybe even in the 90s. But now I definitely think carnivore is making its way back, into the mix, and people are starting to realize this thing is helping with injury prevention, athletic performance,
Mhm.
um, and then just general fitness too. It's breaking all the rules of society that we've been taught.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a game changer for sure. And
Yeah,
it can be used as a tool. Not everyone has to go strict carnivore. I never tell people that. I say, hey, if you have an issue, this could be a tool to help heal what's bothering you, whether it's a gut issue or pain issue or yeah, hormone issue,
yeah, definitely.
even mental issues. Yeah.
So even with the cognitive, like improved cognitive abilities, can you tell me a little bit about that? What you've experienced with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely way more focused throughout the day, less drops of energy. Don't really feel like I need to take a nap throughout the day. I noticed this when I did high carb type diets for bodybuilding in the past. I always got like a sense of I never experienced an anxiety, but whenever I should say I did experience like a sense of like weird, not feeling comfortable with what's going on in the world, in life, or in my life or something. But when I went carnivore, everything was just like chill. It's like I've told you this before. It's like, hey, you're driving down the road, the highway, busy traffic, people cutting you off, and used to get fired up a little bit about that stuff when people cutting you off. You're trying to get revenge, I guess, by cutting them off. But when I get cut off now, I'm just like, they're in a hurry. Go ahead, man. Like, I'm not in a hurry. Just there's way more important things in life, like your life.
Yeah, yeah,
Not trying to get revenge on someone cutting you off and causing someone else to lose a life or,
yeah,
an accident. More importantly. So yeah, it's way more focused. And I feel like you start trying to find new things to go after, like goals and stuff that you've never thought of.
yeah,
It opens up, kind of out there, but I feel like it opens up creativity.
yeah. One of the things I think too is with opening up creativity. For years, when we were on that standard American diet,
Hmm.
those high carbs, those low fats, they're
Yeah.
just not making you think.
No, and it's not
You're not using
sustainable.
your brain. You're not
Yeah.
using your brain the way you normally do on carnivore. And
Yeah, you're like literally brain dead on those kind of
yeah,
diets. Yeah. Especially if you're trying to do those kind of diets for bodybuilding. And it's not to say that you do have to suffer a little bit to get in the great super shredded conditioning for the stage, but you don't have to be suffering in order to get in good shape to just be walking around everyday life.
okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I know it's not everybody's goal
Yeah,
to
it's
be
not
walking
everyone's.
around
Yeah.
at 5%.
Mhm.
Um, but
Well,
carnivore can help with that.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. And then the fact the like I said, with the creativity, the motivation, it becomes higher. Your drive gets increased. And I think a lot has to do with that with hormones, because your hormones are made out of fats, and there's obviously fats in steak and red meat and eggs and salmon and all that you're eating. And a high sex drive is important in life, I believe, 100%. It's not just like about the sex part, that's important, but the important part of having drive to want to do stuff with your life, to like set a goal and go after it, you know.
Yeah, and I think with that, we can relate that to, having higher testosterone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
you see nowadays all these testosterone, these male enhancement pills that are
Yeah.
being, seen on almost every commercial you see. It's a different one
Hmm.
each week. And I know we've talked about this before. It's just as simple as putting good cholesterol in your body, like steak, eggs, and salmon too. Those things that are nutrient dense, and that's what we want. And those are the things that
Hmm.
are going to help us perform better.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's got all the nutrients you need for you to thrive. You can survive on chicken and fish, like lean. You can survive on lean meats, but you can't thrive on them. You can't thrive on them like you could with like your steak, your eggs, your salmon. You can thrive on those foods because it has the fat and the protein all in one, and it has all kinds of nutrients in it. I mean, 16 times more nutrient dense. Steak is 16 times more nutrient dense than your white meats, like your chicken.
Yeah, and what have you noticed this week at the grocery store? What is missing the most?
Oh man, it's crazy. The luckily I go to Aldi where I go there the first thing when they open up and I get what I need. But yeah, you're right. The the red meat is pretty much cleaned out. Yeah, it's wiped out. Even the chicken's wiped out. Even though I
Yeah.
don't eat chicken. So
Yeah. And that might be a last resort. But
yeah.
we talked a little bit about this morning when we were
Mhm,
training. If you're on a stranded island and you got one thing to eat,
mhm.
and what are you going to go for, plants or animals?
Yeah, you go off the animals, man. I mean, I even experiment with, and I still do it off and on, is the organ meats. So I mean, I'll eat raw liver. I had a raw liver before we trained this morning. I salted it up. That was my pre-workout. It's got it's loaded with micronutrients. It's the most nutrient dense like type of food on the planet. It's literally Mother Nature's multivitamin. Plain and simple. And
Yeah, and
not everyone has to eat liver, but I like the liver.
yeah, with that nose to tail approach.
Yeah, I've even done brain. I've experimented with brains, um, testicles, all kinds. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm open to trying just about anything.
that was going to be another question I was going to ask you. What's this? And in some cultures it's not strange, but what would
No,
you say like the strangest or weirdest thing that you've eaten on carnivore so far has been?
I would say I mean, I guess it depends what your definition of a strange is.
Or
Um,
a
I'm
little
not
bit
afraid to
outside the
try.
norm?
Really, I'm not really afraid to try anything. I mean, people consider eating insects uh, carnivore too. I've eaten many insects. I'm not afraid to try just about any insect. You name it, I probably got pretty much eaten it. Locusts, moths, uh, leaf bugs. I've eaten a praying mantis. I know they're extinct. My bad. Uh, I've eaten these blue aqua worms that they feed lizards and iguanas and these dragon things or whatever. I don't know, some kind of lizard. Eaten those, but then yeah, cicada. I guess it's a locust too.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I've eaten, okay, so the bull testicles, I've eaten offal, which is the brain, uh, liver. So my last, I didn't get any deer this year. I hunt a lot, and this is the most I got out hunting this year. Unfortunately, I didn't get any deer, but I was able to. A lot of hunters, when they kill their deer, they'll gut it and they'll leave a lot of the organs behind. And I remember the night I went out or hunted all day, and I left walking out. And the next morning I came in and I saw a gut pile, and it was still cold out. And I was only going to go hunt the first half of the morning. So didn't get anything, unfortunately. Came back and that gut pile was still there. And I'm like, man, this is a huge liver there. Like, this is huge. It must have been a big deer. And I took that huge, I took a couple bites out of it. I actually filmed it. And then I took the liver home and I sliced it up to about 4 ounces. And I probably got like, man, over 8 pounds of liver out of it, and eat about 4 ounces a day until it was out. And that was like my pre-workout there for a
Now,
couple weeks.
real quick, if anyone wants to see that video, I've seen it a few times. I've actually reposted it, I think, to Instagram and Facebook. I think many people have. If anybody wanted to find that, how would they find you doing that?
Oh, Instagram, Kenton Kramer.
Okay.
Also, I eat heart too. Heart's another thing. I would say every kill, every deer I do is I'll eat the heart every time. But
Okay.
I have the liver in there now too. Usually I take the liver home, but depending on the size of deer, I mean, I could eat the whole heart right then and there.
Okay.
But I also believe in fasting while you're hunting because I believe it makes you a better hunter. And it's worked in the past, just didn't work this year. But yeah, when you're fasting for over 48 hours with nothing in you, you're pretty hungry, and this stuff gets pretty tasty,
Definitely.
tastier. I mean, yeah,
That's that's as carnivore as it gets.
yeah. I mean, people always say I'm gonna get sick and die and all this stuff, but Man, I never
And you
felt
haven't
better.
yet.
Never felt better, honestly. I mean, I did a whole experiment with raw steaks, raw hamburger, raw chicken. It was properly raised chicken, at least the best I could find from being properly raised, and raw eggs, and raw goose eggs, duck eggs, all that. And I literally ate nothing but raw stuff for like a month. Never one issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. So
And it
you've
was all from
had,
grocery stores. It was all from grocery
yeah,
stores. Never had a problem.
you've had a wide variety
Yeah.
of organs from nose to tail and
Mhm.
muscle meats too.
Yeah. Kidneys. Yeah. I've had kidney.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Bone marrow. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that this stuff was like, this was common. This is common still today in certain areas of the world.
Yeah. And now we look at this in the United States as something like, oh my gosh, you're going to get sick. You're going to die, of
Yeah.
infection. But let me ask you this.
Pathogens and
Let me ask you this. Since you've started carnivore, and I know
Mhm.
if even keto for the last 5 years, I've only got sick once. How many times have you been sick?
Same thing. I've only gotten sick. I got a little bit of a fever back in around Thanksgiving time, and I 100% believe because after I did my bodybuilding show, I went to a little extreme to get my body weight down to make the middleweight class, and I knew doing that was going to cause some chance of me possibly going off the rails after the show and eating whatever I wanted for a few days. And yeah, I pretty much ate whatever I wanted for a couple of days, and then I went back on carnivore, and then I fell off the rails again because I was still like, man, still craving all these sweets and stuff because I kind of went off of it after the show, and I kind of knew I was like, man, this is probably going to increase my chances of getting sick. But I got a little sick when I was in Alabama. It was just like a fever. It came over me like overnight, and then it went away. So if you do get sick, it lasts for like real quick.
So your immune system is definitely built up a lot more. I think you could probably
Mm,
attribute that to all the micronutrients you're getting in. And yeah,
right.
we live in America. We know that there's going to be fast
Mhm.
food, high sugar, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils all around. Um,
Mhm.
every once in a while, I don't see a problem with having that. It's just, every day you cannot do that.
No, no, every day. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm never gonna eat that food again because
Yeah.
I will. I'm sure I will. But at the end of the day, I'm always gonna go back to carnivore because that's what makes me feel my best mentally, physically, spiritually. I mean, it just everything just starts clicking on all cylinders. And I've noticed that the longer I do it, the less cravings I have for those foods. I mean, I remember, I think I did, did the whole carnivore month where I went complete carnivore, just stayed on strict 30 days. At the end of the month, I was like, you know what, let's see what it feels like to eat other junk food. So I had sushi. It was okay. And then I had ice cream. It was okay. It wasn't like it rocked my world like it used to. In a sense, it was. It's like, man, I remember this ice cream tasting way better, and it doesn't taste like it used to. So, and that's a good thing. I feel like in a sense because that stuff's not really. It's doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It still tastes good, but not. It doesn't taste good as it used to.
Yeah.
You know?
I've noticed that too.
Yeah,
It's not as enjoyable.
yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
stuff used to look so seductive. I mean, it was crazy how good. especially on a higher carb diet. That's all you think of when you're on a high carb diet or a moderate low carb diet, low fat for a bodybuilding show. You
Yeah,
go on that diet right away. You start thinking of every cheesecake that you can imagine or ice cream.
that's like the fit your macros diet,
Oh man,
right?
talk
Remember
about it.
that?
Yeah, talk about a diet that literally destroyed everything in my. Oh, I mean, just destroyed me. I did. I remember in 2015, I did the Mr. like Wilmington show, Gold's Classic, in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I remember I prepped on It Fits Your Macros the whole way through, and I literally ate nothing but Pop Tarts, blueberry bagels, blueberry jelly on it, any kind of cereal like Captain Crunch, um, low fat ice cream, Ben and Jerry's low fat ice cream. I lived on Skinny Cows, and I started my calories really high, and I came all the way down. Don't get me wrong, I got like shredded. I got lean. I got ripped. But man, wasn't healthy. There was no nutrient density in any of that food. Um, and I know it wasn't my best look I've ever had either. I just know it wasn't my best to ever hit competition wise. I would think because the protein, I was having protein in there from tuna, but I was also relying on the protein in the junk food, and that's not good. By the end of all that, um, I ended up tearing my calf muscle, and my left calf, and it felt like a gunshot went off, or someone snuck up behind me and hit me in the leg with a baseball bat as hard as they could when I was doing calf races. It was right after I did the NPC Universe in Teaneck, New Jersey. I came back to Wilmington, started training like as hard as I could for some reason, and yeah, snapped my calf. It wasn't good, and that's when the hip stuff started escalating more and more.
And that was still while you were on the fit your macros diet.
Yep, and I stayed on the Fit Your Macros diet for a long time, and I kept trying to make it work. Kept trying to make it work. I'm like, oh, it's just gonna go away. It's just gonna go away. It'll eventually go away, and it did go away. I was trying to. I remember at one point I tried to make my carbs go up to like 1,000 grams of carbs. Terrible idea. I was eating like Frosties, and I was still eating like so-called good carbs in there, but I just had so much inflammation in my body. Everything was hurting. I remember I popped. I was at Metroflex Gym in Dallas, Texas, and I was doing dips. If you ever seen photo shoots of Johnny Jackson and Branch Warren bodybuilders doing dips in this thing,
Yeah.
I was doing dips on that same thing. They're like pipes in the wall. They're literally pipes. And I went down and I felt a pop, and I'm like, oh man, it was my sternum cracking. Luckily, it didn't like break or anything, but I was in so much pain from it. I didn't do dips anymore because I was falling apart. and and I do remember so I went back to my I'll get to this point in a second here. It's coming around.
Yeah.
So I remember I went back to like a low fat diet with nothing but basically no carbs. If I had carbs, it was from oatmeal, and if I had protein, it was from tuna and tilapia. And I was doing that for 4 weeks. Sex drive was in the tank. You're still hurting and pain. It's a little less pain because there's a little less inflammation from the junk food carbs. And I was getting lean, and I remember I got a phone call from our buddy Bill,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
goes,
Bill.
"Dude," he's like, "There's a better way. There's a better way." He's like, "Just incorporate red meat in your diet. Just start eating red meat. Just go home and eat a bunch of steak." And I remember I went home and I was like, you know what I got to lose? I'm miserable right now. What am I doing? I'm not doing a show. I'm just dieting myself down to like, I don't know. I guess it was vanity purposes, who knows?
Right.
And because I put on a ton of cottage cheese fat around my midsection from all the junk food. And so I went home and I just bought all the steak and I threw butter on it. I threw eggs and I just started eating the stuff out of it. And and dude, I woke up. I woke up the next day and I felt like I just want to start running. I wanted to run sprints. I wanted to start taking off, running. running down the hallways and stuff at work. I was like, had so much energy. I just wanted to share with everyone. I remember I called you and this was happening. And yeah, and
Yeah.
that's when I learned the power of red meat. And there was a good book that Bill turned me on to called The Body Shape Diet by Dr. Cass Ingram.
Okay.
And that diet started getting me on the right track and the importance of red meat. And carnivore didn't come until later, but yeah.
Right.
Same with like Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale,
Mm.
anabolic diet and all that stuff. It's based around red meat, which he probably got from Vince Gironda, basically.
Yeah, this stuff is passed down, it's been passed down for years and years. I think whatever approach you go on, as long as you have that red meat, those you know, animal-based foods as your base to start with, I think you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can. People don't understand. People think you can't. You can't like have carbs in your diet if you're going carnivore. You can. Like that's like a meat. If you have meat as your primary source, you can have carbs in there. If and now it depends on the types of carbs. You probably don't want to use like junk food carbs. You want to use. You and I prefer white rice.
Yep.
Somebody may respond better with fruit, or somebody might respond better with sweet potatoes or white potatoes. I mean, those are more reasonable types carb sources that you can use. Right now, I'm not doing any carbs, but I will use them eventually when I start prepping for a bodybuilding show. I will use mainly white rice as my carb source.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk a little bit about your training really quick. What type of training are you doing right now, like with your weight training?
Um, the type of training I prefer is more of like a high intensity based, like Dorian Yates type style. Um, it's low volume, so it's not many sets, it's not many reps. I mean, yeah, the reps are actually crazy, are really not that high to compared to what most people would say is best for hypertrophy, yeah, for building muscle.
Yeah.
I would say I stick to the basics. I'm like more of a bench, squat, deadlift kind of guy, overhead press. Um, I will do my favorite rep range is 4 to 6 reps. Uh, Sets is probably anywhere from 1 to 3 sets per exercise. So if I do legs, I'm probably looking at 2 to 3 exercises, and I'll do sometimes as many as 3 sets, depending how I feel. If I keep progressing a little bit, whether it's in reps or weight increments, and I will also look at that. I'll also film myself to see if my form is still holding tight while I move up. Because if I don't see that if I'm not mastering the weight the way I think I should be, then uh, I'll stay at that weight until I master that weight in order for me to move up in weight.
It's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, because I mean, if your form starts going to crap, then you're just asking for injury. And if you want to have longevity in lifting weights next and training, then keep your form tight, and you'll be training the muscle more efficiently too,
Right.
which leads to greater results in strength and muscle building. And it's going to also help with bone density. Like there's no doubt in my mind that this diet has literally made my tendons and my bones. So like the tendons, I look as like steel cables now. Like I feel fearless in pushing my body to go heavier over time. Because when I was on a higher carb diet, man, I was like, man, I hope I don't get hurt today or tear a muscle. That's like not the mentality you want to have when you're going into the gym.
Right.
Now I feel like I'm going in the gym from now on, and I'm going, all right, I'm gonna own this. Yeah, I'm not the strongest or the biggest by any means, but I do what's heavy for me in a controlled manner.
It's
And
probably
I
one of the
experiment with higher reps though. I do experiment with higher reps. Like I may work up to a heavy set of 4 to 6 or something, and then I'll do a back off set and drop the weight and go for like 20 or 30 reps, as many as I can in one set on that same exercise. Because I believe there is muscle growth in in that rep range.
so taking advantage of all the rep ranges.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Won't do it all the time, but I will do it occasionally. It could be like every other workout. It could be every fourth workout. And another thing to tap on is recovery. A lot of
Right.
people, they feel like they have to be in a 7-day routine on training, and that's who said that? I'm like looking for this written rule that apparently is out there that I just don't know. But there's times where I'll hit every body part once every 8 days. It could go to not once every 9 days. It go once every 10 days. I go as high as 11 to 12 days. I feel like my sweet spot is right around the 10 to 12 days where I'll hit each body parts in those 10 to 12 days. So if I hit chest, I won't hit it for another 10 to 12 days. If I hit legs, same way. Yeah. I believe when you're natural and you're training in a high intensity manner, and if you're not on, it's different. It's a little different when you're on drugs because you can recover faster from steroids, recovery from anabolics. And but when you're natural, it's a little different ball game. You got to give your body that extra rest in order to recover and get stronger and build more muscle. But when you're on carnivore, I do find that you can recover pretty fast. Like you almost have to talk yourself into like, hey, I do want to train today, but I know it's in my best interest to take off another day in order to be that much stronger. Yeah.
So you've seen like your best success out of all the years you've been training with carnivore
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Mhm.
and combined with a high intensity approach.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and it's not to say that other programs work. I mean, it's not to say that those don't work. I mean, I even changed my program a little bit right now because of the scenario. Like, I don't have the amount of weight I would usually use in a squat.
Right.
So I'm increasing the rep ranges, and that's okay. I mean, heck, if I can get crazy good at higher reps, it's gonna have carryover when I'm able to go back to the heavier lower weights or lower reps, higher weight, and all that.
Yeah, and I think, this time, whoever knows, when we'll be able to get back to, our regular home gym. I know you train at Gold's.
Mhm.
I train at the Y. Who knows what anybody's going to find, within themselves. They might find a new routine that works for them. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny, a lot of these people, they're going to the grocery stores, they're getting more red meat. Who knows? We might have like a mass explosion of carnivores in this country now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's going to come out of this is that people are going to realize how important health is
Right.
because when you're consuming more of an animal based type diet, your chances of getting sick, like we talked earlier, are going to go way down. The higher your cholesterol in your blood is, the less chance of you getting sick. I mean, that's why these people up in Canada, the Inuits, they're in freezing cold temperatures all day, all the time. They're literally living as Eskimos. And I have a friend that was a hunting guide up in Canada with the Inuits, and he said these people lived on nothing but seal, caribou, polar bear, whale blubber, whale meat. Um, that's literally like all they lived on. There was no fruits and vegetables, but they lived on nothing but that. And he said these dudes were strong. He was a bouncer. He was like a bouncer at a bar out there when he grew up most of his life there. But he said if he had to break up a fight with all of them, he said it was literally like grabbing steel. He's like, these guys, yeah, they're drunk, but they're strong. and they just work. They're never like unhappy. They're just working and working, and they're fearless. And they have a high tolerance to cold too. That's another thing I've noticed on this diet is tolerance to cold. It's like no big deal.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing.
Enjoyable.
When when I see all your Instagram stories and you cooking, your chuck roasts on the grill out there, and I know we spent some time out there this winter. I mean, I know we didn't get as much snow this winter than we usually do, but I remember standing out there, not even close to the fire, and just being able to withstand like 20-degree temperatures, temperatures in the
Oh yeah,
teens, just a little bit better.
yeah.
I don't know what the mechanism behind that is, but when I was a little kid, I'd go out hunting too, and I always wanted to go home in the first hour because it was just too cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even heck, I remember doing our old ways of dieting, the asparagus and tilapia diet. And if we were doing a show in the fall, we were freezing. Heck, I remember freezing in August, and it's hot out, and I would literally, when you get in your car in August and it's freaking hot, usually. I remember just getting in the car and I just sit in there, like, oh, this is warming me up because I was so nutrient depleted from eating all
Right.
this junk food and dieting on that. People looking at me like I'm crazy. And I had
Mm.
sweatpants on and a sweatshirt too, walking around like a skeleton.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing stuff, how far you can come, with
Oh
just
yeah,
making those huge changes.
oh, it's life changing, man. It literally, man. I don't know, man. I don't know where I'd be without it, honestly.
Yeah, same here. Totally agree.
Yeah, because I remember I could even say there's probably times where you could consider bouts of depression. And I don't
Right.
know what that's caused from. It could be caused from diet. I mean, I did take a lot of hard hits in football. Man, I remember one time I was running off the field and coach was saying, "Come here," and I was literally ran diagonal, like towards the end zone. And there's studies on this on high impact hits on the head and how that's not really good for the brain and it causes a lot of issues with pituitary glands and testosterone and depression. So nobody can convince me on this earth that I don't care how you design these helmets, it's not going to be safe for these guys to run full speed and collide with each other and not expect depression issues and testosterone issues, hormonal issues to not happen. And having the carnivore diet has literally, I believe, fixed all that in me.
Right.
And I wasn't a very good player either. I was like a Rudy, uh, went from water boy to Rudy.
And this was at Shippensburg.
I just like to run at people as hard as I could and hit them.
And this was
Doesn't
in
mean I was good.
and this was at Shippensburg?
I played a little bit sophomore year in the spring.
Yeah.
Um, wrestled a little bit freshman year, and look, I was just there walking on, trying out the best I could. That was it. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't like I was lighting up scoreboards or anything.
Right.
So yeah, it was just fun to heck try, man. But yeah, and then high school I went to Cumberland Valley,
Okay.
played football there, a little bit of wrestling and a little bit of baseball. But
And
yeah,
is carnivore something you wish you would have had back then?
oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I totally, you know, it, we can't blame our parents because things we just nobody knew. Not a lot of people know this stuff. And
Right.
oh man, I think if I had this kind of food when I was growing up, man, who knows what have been? I could have been a genius in school, maybe. um, I mean, not genius. I could have been smarter, probably, but with better grades, maybe. Just more. You just have more mental clarity, and then heck, who knows? Maybe I've been a little bit taller, a little more muscular. But you know what? I'm not. It's easy. Hindsight's 2020. Uh, I'm happy where I am today. I got a great life. I live on. I like the house I live in. I love the job I have. I have a beautiful wife. I got 2 dogs and a cat, and they're all carnivore. Life's beautiful, man. So yeah, man. There's no place I'd rather be. But now I can use this information I have when I have kids, and I can teach them how to eat the right way and how to thrive, basically.
Awesome. All right, I got one last question for you.
Right.
So, anybody considering carnivore, they're new to it, they're skeptical, just as I was. I don't know if you were when you were, a few years younger. What would be the best advice that you would give somebody that's considering it?
When I started, it was out of desperation because I just wanted to be able to basically body weight squat again. So I went all in. I went meat and water. Um, but and I think you don't have to do it that way. You can have your eggs, you can have your salmon, you can have any other meats. Those all count as carnivore. I just was like, all right, what's the so-called most hardcore carnivore way? And they're like meat, red meat, and water. That is literally it. So that's what I did. And all I ate was chuck roast because that's like the poor man's ribeye. I love ribeye, but man, if you eat a ton of ribeye, that gets expensive real quick. So I was like, I need the fats. Chuck roast, man. That is basically like a ribeye. Just it's these huge chunks of meat you can get at the grocery store. And I also eat hamburger meat too. 70-30. Those probably chuck roast and hamburger meat are probably the cheapest ways you can go about this and getting your fats in. The cheapest fatty red meat, probably your chuck roast, and then your hamburger meat is a 70-30 from Walmart. There's long tubes. But a good thing to look at is always looking for deals to save you money. mygrocerydeals.com. You type in your zip code and you type in the type of meat you want, and it'll spit out at you what deals are going on in your area. Now, it won't give you everything if you're in the Camp Hill area because Carnes isn't on that list. And I go to Carnes a lot, which is like a big meat-based grocery store. But it'll give you like Weiss, Giant, Aldi. I go to Aldi a lot, and it won't give you Walmart. But a good thing about Walmart is if you shop there at night, if you start going there at night, that's when they mark down a lot of good prices on the meat. You can grab some good deals there too if you're looking for steaks per se. But yeah, and then the first couple, I'd say, the first couple, for me at least, it was the first couple, I guess, 2 weeks, until I started thinking of cravings. But once I got past that 2 week mark, I didn't worry about getting ice cream or anything. So yeah, and eat as much as you want. Don't calorie count when you're starting. That's the best thing I could say is don't. And you could find videos of everyone talking about the same thing I'm saying right now, but you can literally just eat as much as you want because you'll stop when you're not hungry, and then you'll eat when you're hungry. It's kind of like a lion or the animals out in the wilderness, tigers. They just eat when they're hungry and they eat till they're full, and then they're good, and then they'll eat again later when they're hungry. Same thing I do. Same thing you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Now that all changes. That can change a little bit when you're starting to when you're trying to get a certain look for competition, crazy shredded reasons. But the thing is, when you're eating like that, when you're eating as much as you want, you're naturally going to, in your training and you're doing some sort of exercise program, you're naturally going to get put on muscle, and you're going to just start getting lean naturally.
Right.
It's really hard to gain. It's really hard to gain a lot of fat on this diet. Really hard.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that too.
You get so satiated so quick. So it's really hard.
Awesome. Well, talking about all these ribeyes, chuck roasts, New York strips, we've been on here for a little while, so I know you're getting hungry. I'm getting a little hungry, so we'll sign off here, and I'll be glad to have you on the podcast some other time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's do it. Thanks for having me on, man. It was awesome. Glad to be a part of this journey on your channel for you. It's kind of cool.
All right,
It's
man.
my first one ever doing this. So cool,
Yeah,
man.
just getting it started. So looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. I'll see you.
See you. Bye.